Our lives are full of activities, demands, surprises, routines. Every day brings change. Some are spectacular and others are not. Change is a constant part of our lives. We love change. We hate change. From birth to death, life itself is change. And there's no way of stopping it, no matter how much we try. Now, the 20th century can be an overwhelming place for some people. Every day we're constantly bombarded by sights and sounds and information at a rate unknown to previous eras. You combine that with the forces of industrialization, mass production, urbanization, and an exploding population, and it's hard not to feel a little overwhelmed. Sometimes, all we want the world to do is stop, even if just for a moment, so we can catch our breath, to sit back and collect our thoughts, to not worry about anything before getting started again. We can't stop change from happening. We must constantly be adjusting to it. The trick is to be able to do that without feeling overwhelmed, without feeling completely powerless. Since we can't stop change from happening in our lives, we can begin to deal with it by using one of the most powerful tools that we have. You use it every day. It's the power of choice, the ability to direct your life. And no one can take that away from you, ever. I'm Dr. Gordon Hassick. Welcome to Choices, a program about possibility and hope for our future.
I don't think that a lot of people really understand that they have the ultimate choice in their own experience in life. What I believe is most people feel that they're a victim of circumstances and situations beyond their control, so that they feel that they have no choice. But when ultimately, base bone down, right where it comes from, everybody has the freedom to choose how they respond to what's going on in life.
But the moments do come when we are hit by something that it seems we don't have any control of, like, let's say, the disease, or let's say like a condition, like being in a hospital, being in a prison. It is like how I see it. It's like going with a train. Train is going. There are some things that we don't have a choice about it. It is it is designed this way. We don't have a choice to stop the train, and we don't have a choice to say, is it going to this direction or is it going to that direction? That's fine. That was designed by the grand design. But I have a choice to see how am I going to spend my time in the train. That's my choice. I can be singing, I can be enjoying my sceneries, my surroundings. Train is a life from the beginning to the end. I don't have a choice, but I have choice to eat better. I have choice to not to think negatively. I have choice to learn how to play the music, learning how to play violin in the train. I have choice to say, hey neighbor, come close, sit over here and let's talk. These are my choices.
I think the term choices is an interesting one. On the other hand, I'm very aware I live in a society where I am constantly making choices. You know, where do I park my car when I come up here? How do I find this place? Do I stop for coffee on the way up there? Do I take this glass of water? I mean, choices are just endemic in our kind of society, and they are stressful quite often. And often, having made a choice, we try to make believe we didn't make it or try to get out of it. So I think choices is a very, very comprehensive term. I also recognize that most people are not consciously aware of making choices moment by moment. And so to make a film that puts choices in big headlines and says, hey, you're watching this and you're making choices moment by moment. And hey, are you sure the choices you're making are the ones that really give your life journey satisfaction? If you're a questioning person or beginning to say, hey, I wonder about the choices I'm making. Are there other choices? Hey, this is a film for you.
What's happening is a lot of people feel that they can make their lives better if they can gain control over everything. I mean, the extremist goes for everything. Some people just go for control over the people immediately around them, or some people want control of their job or whatever. And control being an issue, where choice can really have an impact is people start to find out that they don't need to control, and that what choice actually gives them is a tremendous influence. And influence is much different than control.
Hello, Ruthie. Hello, Charlie. Oh. Hello. Hello, Jim.
Hello, Ed.
Where's the young fellow?
I don't know.
Where's Charlie?
They let him go this morning. We're getting streamlined.
Streamlined.
Is there something I can do for you?
Yes, you might get up and let me sit at my desk.
Oh, is this your desk?
Well, it has been for the past 10 years.
Oh, then you're the old-timer I'm replacing.
What would you do? You've invested 10 long years working for a company, and all of a sudden you're unceremoniously let go. Well, most of us would instantly react. We'd feel hurt. We'd feel angry, possibly very depressed.
Mr. Barnes hasn't told you yet?
No, he hasn't told me anything.
Then I guess you better see him.
But what if we could step back for a moment? What if we could influence the way tough situations affect us? What if instead of instantly reacting and getting angry, we choose to get angry, or we choose to stay calm? Either way, we decide how we're going to react instead of letting something or someone else decide for us. Suddenly, we start to have some influence.
You're making choices that influence the way things happen. All right, and when you start to see that it's influence that you need instead of control, and that you can gain influence by making choices instead of reacting to what's going on out there, it changes the perspective on things tremendously. Choices don't give you control over situations. Choices give you an influence over situations and an influence over how you feel. If you think that choices give you control over how you feel, then the first time you feel a way that you don't want to feel, you think you've lost it. It doesn't work. It's failed. That's not true. It's just influenced it.
You can look at any experience from the standpoint of personality or soul. And if we look at our experiences in terms of personality, we end up labeling them bad or good, or, we categorize them. If we look at them from the standpoint of our soul or our spiritual development, then all experiences are valuable. They all have meaning. We may still experience painful emotions in going through them, but if we can recognize that there is meaning and that there is growth that's going to come out of this, and that there, with waiting and patience.
But it does take great patience, and I agree that, people are into quick fix and what I call cotton candy programs. They taste good, but then they evaporate shortly thereafter. You plant a Chinese bamboo tree and you see nothing for 4 years. Nothing. It just keeps growing under the ground. All the root structures, deep, thick, fibrous, You see nothing, and yet you work diligently. Imagine the patience that would take. On the 5th year, the Chinese bamboo tree grows 80 feet. All the growth goes this way. If you make these conscious and unconscious choices on the basis of principles, natural laws, you may not see a lot of fruits overnight, but you build such depth of character, such integrity, that when the trust starts to go up, I'm telling you, it grows 80 feet. But you have to be patient. You just can't keep pulling up the flowers, see how the roots are coming.
Yes, it's an incredible thing that we have the ability to choose. And yes, it can make all the difference in the world in your life and how you feel. The ability to exercise it is something you've got to develop. The capacity to have choice is God-given. The ability to use it is your choice. The ability to develop it is something you have to decide to do. And some people don't even know they have that choice, and hopefully they'll watch a film like this, or listen to somebody's tape, or read a book, or take a class, or talk to a friend, and somebody will pop a seed in their head that says, wait a minute, maybe I've got some choice about this, and begin the process of pursuing what that really means. And what that really means is developing your awareness, expanding your vision of the world, yourself, your family, and your friends, so that you can make choices based on other options. It's about getting in touch with the habits that drive you, the decisions you've made in the past that you're still living your life on. And you have to get all of those things and begin to, day by day, week by week, develop yourself as a person with all of those facets.
Can you imagine a higher affirmation of a human being than to say you have the power to choose your response, to choose your path, to take initiative, to work in what I call the circle of influence, however small it may be, so gradually it gets larger and larger. It's a very ennobling idea.
When you bring up the subject of choice, and you want to talk about it in an inspiring way, you can credit choice with the most magnificent of qualities. I mean, it brings life to life. It's what drives us forward. It's what makes lives exceptional. It makes the difference in people from being miserable to happy, success to failure. It influences every single thing in our life that we ever do.
We always, as a human being, have choice in any circumstances, a choice of attitude we take toward it. So we always, no matter what happens, we always have choice. And that is what makes us most human. And so most people who come to me for counseling in some way or another have been felt blocked, have not been aware of choice, have felt controlled without even knowing they felt controlled. And helping people come to choice, I think, is the greatest thing that we can do for each other in whatever situation. Likewise in education, helping people to make choices based on their own knowing, based on their own experience, is the most important thing we can do.
I think people are really wanting to take more responsibility for their life and their life, which, when it's out of balance, creates discomfort. And what has been offered has been something to maybe palliate or band-aid the pain or the disease. And they're saying, okay, fine, I'll take the Band-Aid, but I'd like to take it another step further and find out what's underlying that and how I can prevent that from coming back again. In other words, what's the cause?
Well, you see, one of the things that what it was for me when in 1979, over a 5-month period, I was divorced and my wife moved to Vancouver with my daughter. I had a bleeding stomach ulcer. I was just in the midst of a major cocaine addiction, which was my second major addiction. And I was a hardcore alcoholic, and things were just heating up in the club and the gang, motorcycle gang experience. I was involved in criminal activities. I lost my job, and I was arrested and charged with trafficking, all in about a 5-month period. And I knew for me that if I didn't find a different way, that my life was coming to an abrupt end as I knew it. And so I began to search, and when I began to search, I found a way in which, through making the positive choices, that I could create a different experience and lifestyle. And I made a commitment at that time for me, because I had spent a lot of years, and during that time, in the wake of my experience, the people that had come in the wake of my experience, I had screwed up a lot of people's lives. And so I made that commitment when I found my way out, to provide an opportunity to create a new kind of a wake of experience for people that were following along, to be able to sell them on themselves and to believe in themselves and to make positive, wise choices. in order to help them have a different kind of a life and a better life than what they've had. So that became my commitment.
I, myself, felt that I was in a position of no choice at one point in my life. And in that point of feeling that I was in no choice, I went through my own grief process. And in that grieving, I discovered other situations of no choice. And I began to ask myself, okay, what is meaningful for me? What can I do in this world? And one of the things I felt that I had very little choice about was the way that our world is right now. Torture being one of the things that when I turn on the radio or listen to the news, it seems to me that we have one tragedy after the next spilling over into the news, and where I feel very powerless in that. And then I decided I needed to do something that I felt I could somehow contribute my drop of water in an ocean, sort of thing. Working with survivors of torture was the choice that I made.
Both Doug and Mary realized that feeling helpless wasn't accomplishing anything. They both made a conscious effort to do something about that, to stop feeling helpless in the face of circumstance. It's difficult and it takes effort. But if you're tired of merely reacting, the first step is to say,
wait a minute, I really do have choice. Now, what is it I have a choice about? And we explore that. And then we get inspired by that. And we think, well, gosh, if that's true, if that's true, that means I could. And that inspiration gives them the energy to say, okay, well then how do I do that? I don't feel like I can. Now you tell me I can and I want to, but sometimes I just don't feel like I have any, okay? And now those questions are probably the most exciting and important questions that a person could ever ask, because what that means is they have a genuine interest. They're inspired somewhere inside to find out how to do this.
You know, our society is filled with people who are in one way or another trying to say to themselves, the journey of my life is not as satisfying as I think I could make it. I therefore have to begin recognizing I am the person that has to make some choices. And I need to be better informed. I need better understanding of the society I live in so that I can begin to take the risks of making different choices and consciously make those choices because I understand the risks involved.
You see what low grade you made on your weekly mathematics test? More than half of you failed. Most of those who passed just got by. Nobody had 100%.
Since we come into the world, really, we're taught what to think, we're taught what to do, what to eat. We're really not taught to think for ourselves.
Most of you have no foundation at all. Now the trouble's with your attitude. You don't pay enough attention in class. You don't do enough work outside of it. You don't know what the word study means. You haven't the slightest idea.
We're really not taught to think for ourselves and to learn the resources that help us think for ourselves and to go have that trust in some higher power, whether you call it spirit or your connection with God, whatever philosophy or religion you carry, to really learn that our only real, true answers for ourselves come directly from that higher power, rather than letting all this other extraneous stuff, which is based on other people's experience, not ours, become our reality.
I tell you right now that unless you get over your lazy habits and come up to the standards I've set for this class, many of you will have the pleasure of repeating this course next semester.
And so all of a sudden to say, I'm going to take responsibility and I'm going to make this choice is a challenge. But we all have the ability to go deep within and connect with that inner truth and that higher source. And that's, I think, what it takes in order for us to step out of a typical groove that we've set up for ourselves and to say, yes, this feels right for me, and whether or not other people accept me for that or reject me for that is not important. What's important to me is my truth. And when people do that, it's like this burden of lifetimes is lifted.
If I look at my world, which is a clinic and friends, I find that most people want help, or they ask for help, but they're not really committed to helping themselves and taking responsibility for it. An example I could use is seeing someone who was quite ill and was off work. The family was in financial straits. And I mentioned to them about their diet. And the first thing they said to me was, well, I'll be willing to do that if you don't have me stop eating this and stop eating that.
Next to life itself, it's our greatest gift, the power to direct that life.
If each one of us were to take the responsibility of changing ourselves, we will have a much better world to live in. It sounds naive and it sounds simplistic, but it's a powerful statement.
Once you realize that choices can be made, it can transform your life. It's the first step on the road towards freedom. It puts us back in the driver's seat. On our next program, we'll take a closer look at the process of making choices. Thank you for joining us. I'm Dr. Gordon Hassett.